Ladies, gentlemen, creatures in between, it is time for the SideQuesting Game of the Year 2024 discussion. How are you, my friends? I'm Dolly Domofsky, the one with 14 zeros percentage lines boy, because we got 14 wins now. We got the biggest game of the season coming up on Sunday. To my left, your right, JJ of the year.
Yeah, I stopped paying attention to what the Seahawks record was. It's
They still have a shot. Surprisingly enough, they still have a shot.
As a Seahawks lifelong Seahawks fan, no, they do not.
No, they do not. Yeah, you guys kept screwing us every time we needed a win. And that wonderful person below us, right there, this guy right here, is the one, the only SideQuest.
You feeling all right, buddy?
Yeah, I'm feeling. I've been sick, and then I was sick the last time I was on the show.
Yeah, so, last time we saw Zach, he abruptly left the podcast for some odd reason.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, out of all the football teams for our respective states, your guys' teams are amazing. Mine suck.
Yeah.
The Houston, like the Texans, have like the highest, I think, sack record in like NFL history.
Wild.
My brain refuses to not call them the Oilers. I don't know why. It hasn't been the Oilers for.
And then I've always been a Cowboys hater because it's just like
it's normal. It's good to do that.
Most of the country, to be fair.
They're never good, but like every year it's always like
America's team.
It's like this is gonna be the year. This is the year. Dak is gonna he's gonna pull it together. Everything's gonna be great, and then they get blown out for like 8 games in a row.
It's beautiful.
So yeah, no, I'm more of a Detroit Lions fan. I think
cool,
I like to watch the seasons and not have like a team and just kind of be like, let's see who's the most fun to watch. And the Lions, the last 2 seasons have been the most fun to watch. The team is crazy. They do stupid stuff. I think they're funny. So I root for them.
Yeah, it's definitely not even saying we're taking forever.
You got Sonic and Knuckles over there.
Yeah, it's true. We're very meme friendly, and to the point where the Sonic and Knuckles are our 2 running backs, and they've like owned up to taking on that role. The names, and when Knuckles, David Montgomery, went down with an injury, he may be back in a couple weeks. We're like, oh crap. Not because the other guy's bad or anything, but now we don't have a duo. So oddly enough, the funny thing we did was we started calling our like 3rd and 4th running backs. We combined them into one and started calling them Shadow. So we got Shadow, which is great. By the way, check this out. I'm wearing the shirt you guys got me. I am not a grandpa. I have a daughter. She's way too young, but this is a comfortable shirt. This is the shirt that I got for the Secret Santa, and it was wonderful. So we're going to talk about our games of the year and our favorite games we do every year. Hopefully Taylor will join us. He likes to show up at the very last second.
Yeah, fashionably late.
Fashionably late. Where's my
he said he's stuck putting his kid to sleep. Oh.
Yeah, we'll put Taylor to sleep. I got a sheet of paper.
GTS.
Yeah. Get Taylor sick. I don't know what GTS stands for. But we have a lot to talk about. So much so that like Sam is still messaging me his list. Thanks, Sam, for always being perfectly on time. He's still trying to write everything up. And Johnny just revealed his list during the holiday party, which was always great. So good for Johnny. It was awesome. I do want to say, again, you can find us SideQuesting.com. Hop into the Discord there. Join us. It's fantastic. You can go to SideQuesting TV on YouTube and Twitch. You can find us at SideQuesting.com on Blue Sky. And a big shout out to our executives for the podcast. You can join our Patreon if you go check out SideQuesting TV on Patreon. Our executives, Tom Johnson, you can find him at that Tom Johnson, and Punctified, you can find him at Punkdefied, Punkdefied. Those are our executive special shout out to the producers who also get name dropped. Stefan Swanlin, you rock, Stefan. Zero the Prototype, Exogenius, and Jeff Grubb. These are the folks who are kind enough to be producers for the show and help us out every week. So again, you can get name dropped too if you join our Patreon. But we are going to dive right into it. We were just talking a little bit before the show started about what it takes to get on our Game of the Year lists, and my stuff literally changed up until I mean moments before I hit the go button, because a game popped into my mind that I was like, oh crap, I forgot about this game, but I absolutely loved it. And then I remembered because I saw Johnny's list and I thought, oh shoot, I need to Johnny's list. This game was on Johnny's list. So this is how it goes, but I'm confident in my list right now. As confident as can be, but
I'll say this is my favorite year of games since 2023, 2022. Whenever Norco came out and Pentiment, that was like the last big year for me. Okay. This is another one of those years for me. There's a lot of games I played that just I think are staples for gaming going forward. I'm really excited to talk about them. So,
it's a great point, because typically we'll have one or two games that we're just super confident in, right? There's always the big AAA blockbusters and stuff.
Like last year's was Alan Wake 2. That was our game.
Alan Wake 2, and I think that's the one that won our.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Last year's game was
Alan Wake. But we always have that big banger, and it's a very clear cut, usually a clear-ish cut winner. This year, there really was no head of the pack, because the amount. I will say this: it sucks that so much bad stuff happened in the game industry. We had a lot of layoffs, we had projects delayed, we had teams disappearing, but it did put a lot of focus on indies and games that are not typically, games that break genres. We're going to talk about that here. The indies, if you watch the Game Awards, our good friend Jeff Keighley, hi Jeff. If you watch the Game Awards, which is almost on par with the SideQuesting.
I forgot to read his name in the
yeah. I'm sorry about that. He's Lord Jeff Keighley. But you saw a lot of indie games that popped up in there, and a lot of the indie games that were nominated. I'm sure we'll talk about those as well. But it really was a fantastic year for genres, and that's what made it so difficult for me, because I have honorable mentions, and I'm like, poop, how am I going to get all these honorable mentions in here? Because they were all such fascinating, good times. I was so surprised with how my list ended up. So surprised.
Yeah. Last year, all the games I played were cool. I loved them. They were fun, right? But this year, every few years, there's these games that I'm they attach to me on a personal level. I'm just oh, this is a game I'll be talking about for a while.
Sure.
And there's at least three on my list that I'm just these are staples for my gaming personality going forward. It's crazy. I'm so excited to talk about these games.
It is just so good. By the way, I'm trying my darndest to paste freaking Sam's stuff in here. It's just the worst. I'm gonna leave it up to you guys to.
Listen, you give me that list, I will read Sam's list.
No, I'm gonna read his list, but I'm typing it up to make it easier to. I just want to have the fancy special graphics on there. So whatever. Sorry, Sam. That's what happens when you have to work.
Yeah. Oh, it's the first game of the post holiday.
Yeah. Anywho, let's get started. JJ, you actually loaded up your PowerPoint.
Yeah, I'm ready to go, baby. I have to add my PowerPoint to the stage. I don't know. Is it animated in here? I don't know.
It should be. It should be.
All right. So this is okay. So I went with the typical SideQuesting perfect sevens. So mine's a top 7. So
love it.
And the friends are what are my to round out a top 10, so to speak. So it's just power through those ones for a second. I didn't do anything special for them. There are 3 in particular that I liked most of all, but didn't make my absolute favorites of the year.
Sure.
And you'll also notice it's called Badly Drawn
I
because
love it.
I took inspiration from Zach's whiteboard presentation when he saw it.
Ooh.
Because I was like, I have negative
Mhm.
art skills. I cannot freestyle. I cannot draw worth.
You make things
anything.
worse. You make good art worse. That's how
Yes,
negative.
actually, it's 100%
I don't know how
true.
you do it, but
I bring whatever it is. You put me in the Louvre and everything becomes garbage. So I thought, boy, it'd be funny to just to draw my top 7 in MS Paint, and that's exactly what I did.
That's really good.
But
Love
here's my honorable mentions of 2024. Number 10, then it doesn't do the animation, that sucks. I got Batman Arkham Shadow, which seems to be the swan song of VR games.
Yeah, dude.
It's one of the absolute best VR games that's ever been made.
Finally.
It is perfect. It plays like a video game, which is kind of rare in the VR space. Most of it just kind of comes across as interactive in like not a gaming way, just sort of like this one actually feels like a video game. You're doing the Batman Arkham stuff, but in a new way.
Doing the Batman.
Yeah, the Bat-2C. You got to do the Anton Blast, obviously. I'm a big fan of Wario games. I was a huge fan of Pizza Tower when it came out, and this game blows Pizza Tower out of the water. It does everything Pizza Tower looks like a pile of garbage in comparison to what Anton Blast is doing with the formula, and it's way funnier in it's funnier in a different way. Like I think the comedy plays way better in Anton Blast than it did in Pizza Tower. I don't hate Pizza Tower, but like Anton Blast is just fucking incredible. And number 8 on this is 1000X Resist. You were harassing me about not playing it, and I had played it like back in May. It came out around my birthday. I had played this game already.
It's called 1000 times Resist.
Yeah, get it right.
Get it right.
Yeah. Or if you're going by the anime thing, it could just be 1000 Resist because you never pronounce the X in anime titles. It's not Hunter X Hunter, it's Hunter Hunter. But no, I know that this is going to come up later and we can just talk about it then. So I'll do that. So
you're darn tootin', buddy.
Yeah. So we can talk about it then, but just know that this game has probably one of the best stories ever created for a game, I think, by a long shot. It's crazy. Anyways, now to the majestic art gallery of my favorite games of 2024. Number 7 is Billionaire.
Ooh, nice.
It's Slay the Spire, but pachinko. Billionaire is consumed me in this late stage of 2024. It is a roguelike pachinko game, and that's just kind of the that's just sort of like the upfront presentation of it.
Sure.
You have your pachinko board, and you have like Balatro, sort of like the blinds, their initiations. It's got this weird cultish religious overthink to it. It's kind of crazy. So you drop a ball down the pachinko board. It has some preset things, and after each ball, you get to choose from a few cards, and the cards have different like buffs, or you can string them together and create like weird chains, and you're just trying to make as much money as possible in this game. And it's very like, just looking at it and even watching some of it. I know Zach was watching and I was watching Will play it. It was funny watching Will play it because he was like zoned in on that game. It's crazy how just sort of like you don't really understand what's going on until like deep into the game. Like you're just kind of, the best laid pipes of men are bound in time to burst kind of thing. You know, it is like you can set up a beautiful run, but it's still pachinko at the end of the day. So you're kind of at the at the whim of the randomization of what pachinko is, but you can set up some impressive things where it's like, okay, so this ball turns this into water, and the water will turn this, will collect into the dam, and will light the, like the fireball will light this candle and do all. And so you're just trying to string things together. And even the game says, look for exploits, kind of like you just exploit the game is what you're trying to do to make as much money as possible per run. And you only have a limited amount of runs to do it. And it's hard to explain it. You have to play it or at least sit down and watch somebody who seems to know what they're doing play it, because it is it's fat. It scratches that itch that I have for this kind of thing. So Billionaire, love it. Number 6, Tetris Forever. This is their best so far of the gold label series. I think what helps most of all, it's like I always say, it's not the games that elevates this, it's the documentary footage. And these two guys just absolutely love Tetris, and they're still around. They're still involved in Tetris. They're still making and they love it still. They're so passionate about the concept of Tetris to this day.
Sure.
That like, and they have just a wealth of information and old footage and old copies, and like there's just so much to glean. And there are few games as big as Tetris, period. Like it is it's the most universal video game ever made. I think we can all kind of universally agree on that.
Yes.
Like you don't even have to play video games to play Tetris. Like it's one of those things where like it's one of the earliest games built into like LCD screens kind of thing. So it's just a perfect documentary for this franchise with some really fun games in it. Like I've made the joke a dozen times at this point, but this game turned me into a bombless fanatic. Like it's something I'd never really played leading up to this, and after this, it's like I want to play more bombless. Yeah, like give me more bombless. So yeah, and they just added Weltris very recently to the game, which is not a good Tetris game.
Oh
yeah. Number 5, WWE 24. This is one of the weird ones.
I love this sketch, but it was great.
My wrestling ring.
Good shit.
It's not a surprise that I'm a wrestling fan, obviously.
Yeah.
We used to have a wrestling show on SideQuesting. Wrestling games have universally been average at best throughout the recent time. I mean, like it peaked in like the Nintendo 64 era, PlayStation 2, that kind of stuff. But and then the quality, like once THQ and I forget who was the Ukes or whatever were making these games, the quality fell off a cliff significantly. And this game brings it back to form. It looks good, it plays good. They added features that have been missing for the longest time. Even simple things like special guest referee is back finally. It's been years since you've had special guest referee as an option. Like the character models go a long way in these kinds of games, because like previous ones, they all looked kind of like the same, like they were all made out of a character creator. Like this one actually seems like they actually made the wrestlers this year. And I was looking at it, and I think I'm at like 90 hours in this game this year, which is ridiculous.
Holy crap!
For well, they also have like a GM mode where you get to create your own wrestling company and book shows, and it's just really fun. I just put sometimes I just like to create my own shows and just have CPU versus CPU wrestle it out and just watch AI generated wrestling match basically. It's fun. I love WWE.
Do you have Big Justice and AJ in there?
They have,
you can make them.
They have this. They have a thing called community creations where people upload their created wrestlers, and so obviously they're in there, and obviously I've downloaded them. So there you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next up, Astrobot. Here's my little Astrobot guy.
That's a nice sketch.
Done completely with no talent, and I made sure to use a different horrible font for everything. No, I don't know what to say about Astrobot other than it's one of the greatest platforming games ever made, and like, especially 3D platforming games. 3D platforming games overall mostly suck. Let's be honest. There's way more shit ones than there are good ones.
Yeah, like the last good one, in my opinion, came out on the N64. So it's like, you know,
I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that, because like even Nintendo's 3D Mario output's been fine. Like it's like
it doesn't have that Mario 64
it's just
zing to it.
Sure.
It's like Mario Odyssey is a good game, but like it is just completely out of my memory right now. Like I can only remember
been 8 years.
Yeah, but like I remember
I
remember every stage and every corner of Mario 64, and I can remember like 2 stages in Mario Odyssey, and it's like New Donk City.
Like, and that's the other thing with me too, right? Just to like add on here, but like Mario 64, whenever I play a 3D platformer, I'm like, why isn't this better than Mario 64? We're 20 years past it. Like, this game doesn't feel anywhere close to as good as Mario 64 does. Like, the way that game feels is just insane. It's just kind of nuts.
But now Astrobot, it feels like the natural progression of Mario 64. Astrobot feels like it feels like you're directing him more than like controlling a character, which I think goes a long way for the feel of this game. And it uses the PlayStation 5 in a like its little bells and whistles in a great way. The haptics feel really good on all the stuff. The inclusion of the PlayStation iconography, you can call it nostalgia baiting, but I don't care. It's charming, and it doesn't feel forced. It feels earnest in every moment. And the level designs are all incredible. The character designs are great. Boss battles are really cool in this game. The sound, the music, the Astrobot theme is really good. I love everything about Astrobot. I've always been a big fan of like when they started making Astrobot games. That VR game was beautiful, and like this is they nailed it out of the park. Like just a beautiful game. Next up, mouthwashing.
Ooh.
I fucking love this game so much.
I love the fuck Jimmy.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just kind of hit it. This game is probably one of the best pieces of psychological horror I've ever experienced. And I don't necessarily even mean video games. I just mean like in general. It is so well done, and like the way the game is not only gaslighting everybody in the game, but you as the player as well from the get-go, and manipulating you. Like, it takes a hot minute till you realize it's like, wait a minute, I'm being what the like like it tries to turn you against certain characters extremely early on. And the thing that's cool about this game too is that the horror is all very real. Like, it's like, just because it's in space and there's hallucinations and things going on doesn't change the fact that like the main and I'm trying to get around it without, it's like the main antagonist is what is the worst human being I have ever experienced in a video game. Everything about him sucks. Like, and I just like, it stuck with me so much after I was done playing it. And just when you think back at certain scenes that played out with the context and certain certain dialogues between like Curly and some of the crewmates, like going back, you're like, oh wait, yeah, huh, ooh, fuck. It's just, man, it is something else. And it's, you know, it's the perfect length. It's feature film length, which I think is absolutely perfect for for this kind of thing. And it's one of those games that I played it twice just because I wanted to see after having all the context going. It's like, I don't know if I'll ever play it again, but like, it's a game that's going to stick in my brain for probably the rest of my life. It's going to sort of set the benchmark for this type of game for me from here on out.
This genre really came into its
really
own
took off this year, man.
Yeah.
Or last year, I guess. Like, cause like Crow Country didn't make the list, but fuck that game. Like, it's like, you know, there's a lot like that on here.
So just a question.
Yeah.
There's a part in the game where you have to walk really slow, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
From that, whatever that thing is.
Yes.
Did you see it?
Yes.
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 Okay.
We're talking the warehouse scene, right?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah,
weird,
yeah.
yeah.
The invisible thing that will peer through the invisible veil and like it's scary as fuck.
The first time I saw it, I just assumed it was an invisible thing, but then the first time I like turned around and it was there, I flipped out. I genuinely like this. Yeah, no, that man, mouth watching is so that's my number 3. Number 2, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. This game's great, man. I'm a massive Indiana Jones fanatic. I'm also like a modern Indiana Jones apologist in a way. Like, I don't really hate the movies that everyone hates. I'm not saying they're great, don't get me wrong, but they're fine for me. But this is such a perfectly crafted. This is what I want a AAA IP, like AAA games to like be like, because they spent a lot of money on this game. And it's visually beautiful. But it's not perfect. Like, you could tell that they put the money where it needed to be put and not just like needlessly put it into the foliage for, you know, like grind somebody to dust to make sure that the grass is perfect, because there are times where you're just going through there and it's like a horrible like plant, and it just kind of clips through the boat and the water doesn't necessarily interact with the boat very well or whatever, but it doesn't matter because everything else is like some of the best lighting I've ever seen in a video game. It's fun to play. Guns exist, but like, don't use them. I love that it has a button where you pick up like a rifle and it's like, if you push the X button, it just turns it into a club and you're like, yeah, let's do that instead of shooting this guy, sneak up behind a guy with a rolling pin and just bop a Nazi on the back of the head and knock him out. You get to do all the Indiana Jones stuff. It's cool. One of the most annoying things with things like Tomb Raider and Uncharted is like, they always find a way to ruin the experience of exploring a tomb. They always they make sure that the bad guys are always 2 steps ahead of you, already there, or just kind of breach the tomb on your way out. They don't really do that. You get to kind of explore these areas that haven't been seen by people and for centuries, and get to just kind of explore them and do the puzzle solving without having to worry about sneaking around, getting caught by Nazis and stuff. And then you get into combat. I'm a little sick and tired of the trend of first person games, kind of shoving in stealth elements. And there's a few stealth sections throughout this, but for the most part, I mean, Indiana Jones, you can do well just punching your way through it's like Hitman in a way. You can just punch your way out of any problem if you really wanted to. And they also do a really good job at portraying Indiana. Troy Baker's really good at Indiana Jones. That's 100% fantastic Indiana Jones. But they also do go a step further with absolutely having zero respect for fascists and Nazis. Like, they don't even make them
machine games.
Yeah, they don't even make them vaguely scary, and which is great. And like, when you're like Indiana Jones in disguise walking around the Vatican, for example, it's one of the first levels in the game. You walk around the Vatican. You're in disguise as a priest, and when like a fascist greets you, you're like, hello, father. You just walk by. You don't say a word. You just keep moving on. If somebody else that's not a fascist says something to you, like, it's like, hello, father, and it's like a nun or just like another person, he'll throw a greeting back. He's like, hey, how's it going? like somebody's whistling, it'll be like, oh, like whistling, and if it's a fascist whistling, it'll be like out of tune whistling. It's just like even the subtitles hate the fascists. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love everything about
Well
it.
done.
Yeah, it's well done. It's absolutely, that's my number 2 of the year, and to the shock and surprise of nobody, number 1 of the year, of course, no shit, it's Balatro. Balatro, whatever the fucking thing is. This game came out in February. I have played it at least 3 times a week every week since its release. And I have gotten so many people. I've recently just talked somebody into downloading it on their phone, and they now hate my guts. So it's not only one of the best games of the year. I think it's one of my favorite games of all time at this point. Like it's creeping up into that category. Like my favorite games of all time have been a pretty solid list for since like the Xbox 360 days. And now we have this game just creeping on up in there. So that's my top 7 of and friends of 2020.
Love it. I mean, you've gone across the whole freaking like spectrum there, you know, from AAA
There's a little bit of everything,
a little bit of everything. So those are JJ's games of the year right there.
GOTYs.
My
beautiful drawings. I hope you all enjoyed my beautiful drawings.
Do we want to go to you, Zach, or do you want to go last, or how do you want to do it? I have the other guys' stuff loaded up, anyways.
I'll just go. I'm fine.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Do I just click my slide?
I can add the stage, and
there you go.
Yeah,
and then
you should see a little thing on the bottom that lets you click it around.
Cool. Yeah. So 2024 was a really interesting year for me. For my gaming habits, I think I played more games this year than I've played 80 years previously, which is awesome. I kind of freed myself from a past chain video game called Final Fantasy 14. I don't like that game anymore. I'm over it. So hey, so that, which was weird to me, once I decided I'm over this game, my brain was like, you can play whatever you want to now.
I'm free now.
Yeah, so it's like, because I have a piece I wrote up, I just haven't done anything with it, but it's talking about how like I would be playing other games and I'd be like, I could be playing Final Fantasy 14 instead. Why am I playing this? You know, I need to grind this in Final Fantasy 14. Why am I playing this other game? But once the summer hit and I played the new expansion and I didn't beat it because I just hated everything about it, I was like, you know what? My brain just kind of opened up. And that's where, you know, all these crazy games I played come into fruition, I guess. So here's our agenda. We have the honorable mentions.
Love it.
Then we have the GIW, HOBIA, GT, GD, TD, TBB section. Then we have the highlight section. Then we have the EA section. Then we have the top 6.
Love it.
So yeah,
the EA section is all Madden. Cuts in the game.
So honorable mentions. Just okay. I'm gonna put this out there. The game that's gonna be on everyone's list is not on my list. I don't have Balatro on my list.
Okay.
It didn't. It's a good game. There's just other things I like a lot more, which is crazy because I like that game a lot. It's really awesome. I think it's probably the best roguelike game in existence. Like, I think it's smart. It's so well thought out. The stuff you can do is crazy, but it's just like, it's not on my list. So I'm just getting that out the way. I don't want people to expect it because I know people will probably expect it. Honorable mentions. Let's go. You see, I put it over here as a little
tease, a little taste.
But yeah, so here are my honorable mentions. We got Kunitsugami, which I'm shocked didn't make my top 6. It's a wonderful tower defense Pikmin RTS combat game. It's weird. It's so strange. It's really awesome. Dragon's Dogma 2, came out this year. No one's ever talking about it anymore. That game's sick. I loved it, but it's over here.
Oh man, I forgot about click holding.
Yeah,
See, another one.
Click holding is a cuckold game. It's really awesome. It's just you have to click your mouse like I don't remember how many times. It's a lot, and you're clicking it, and the guy sitting in the corner is like, "Hey," he like asks you to move around and get into certain positions and stuff, and it kind of like unravels. It's really dark and disgusting. It's fun. It's by the guys over at Strange Scaffolding who just for whatever reason can make a trillion games. Arco, another amazing bullet hell like game about Spanish Inquisition, kind of not about Spanish Inquisition, but about the Spanish being conquered by colonizers, and kind of a fantasy RPG around that. It's really dark, really depressing. It's really cool because it's like first it's really slow and it's a turn-based game, but the decisions you can make the game turn into a bullet hell. So if you like level up a certain way, it becomes faster. Really cool. Destiny 2, Final Shape. I played a lot of this year. The story sucks. But the game's fun. It's a beautiful looking game. Bungie is just like masterclass with guns and kind of the feel of a shooter. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink came out in like February. This game's awesome. A really good character action game. It does a really good job of like representing the game it's from. It's also a great game to play if you don't have any idea what this IP is. It's a nice jumping on point. Persona 3 Reload. It's just Persona 3. Like, so whenever I saw this game was coming out, I was like, they're going to take away all stuff that I like about Persona 3, which is all the bullshit where it's like you have to manage your time. It like if you don't follow a guide while playing this game, you can just like screw up your whole playthrough. They didn't take any of that away. I thought they make it more like Persona 5 where things are like kind of more free, kind of go around, but they kept it really true to the original, and they added a lot of stuff so you can min-max quicker than you could before. Really cool. The new voice actors I think are amazing. Black Ops 6, fun-ass game. Loved it. Played like 100 hours. It's super cool. I love this game.
They consumed you in the Discord for a good couple of weeks.
It's really good. It's just a solid shooter, an arcade shooter. I think I don't know. This is the game that kind of like unlocked the rest of my brain, where I was just like, oh, I can consume slop and not feel bad. You know, like I was like, this is like I can play AAA games and like not have like this pretentious attitude about it. Like I'm not afraid to play these games anymore. And that's why I picked up Destiny, and that's why, I'm here. Crow Country, really good. It's kind of like baby's first survival horror game. I don't think it's horrible. It's awesome, but yeah, definitely play it. But I think the story is definitely a high point. Gameplay puzzles are kind of like, oh, this is for children. Not really, but it's like if you played survival horror before, it's like, okay, I kind of know. Then Unicorn Overlord, amazing game. This game is like crazy. It's so good. It has the like crunchiness of a game that I like. I like to describe it where it's like you have to be involved in the game. You have to dig deep into yourself and into the game and like figure out what the fuck you're doing. It's like it has a Final Fantasy 12 thing where you can set macros for your units. So it's like when X unit does Y, this unit activate Z, and then it's like when X hits X%, do this. So you have like 6 units in each like guy, and you set them up around all these macros. It's crazy, and it's built around you kind of getting your ass beat and being like, okay, let's go back.
Hell yeah, brother.
It's so good. But yeah, those are the honorable mentions.
Mm-hmm.
This is the GIWHOBIAGDD DTDTBB
Yeah,
part.
hit me with it.
And then I
Let me see.
James, I wish.
No.
okay.
I said it. So I have it written here in my Google Keep notes. It says game I was hating on, but it's actually good despite the dev being bad.
Okay.
Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2, dude.
Baby, let's
That
go.
game's really good.
This game is like, holy crap, dude! Like, because I was.
It's
Yeah,
like
it's crazy
11
what a
on my
dev can
list.
do when they were just like given the homework to copy, and the
Yeah,
teacher was like, "This is the assignment." Actually,
well, the thing that's interesting to me though is like I've only played maybe 2 hours, right? Which isn't a lot, but I know from playing so many games and being in this kind of field, you can play a game for 2 hours and kind of tell, like, okay, this is what it is.
Okay, we're gonna kick off this discourse again. Huh?
No, so like this game, it's like Jake in the Discord gifted it to me. Thank you, Jake. But it's like this game. It's the same game, right? But it does the Final Fantasy Rebirth thing where it's like, I know where this is, but actually you go over here instead. It does that where it's like it plays with your expectations as a fan, but not in that meta way that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth does. But it does it in a way where it fleshes it out. It's like, okay, this is where you usually get the radio, but actually you have to walk through Silent Hill a little bit more and experience some more shit before you get the radio, before we train you on how to hit things with a wood plank. Like, it does things where it fleshes it out. It makes it more natural. It makes sense to the pace that they're setting for the game. It's the cutscenes in particular are really impressive. I think they're really well acted. The characters feel so realistic.
James is really good in this game.
James is really good. The voice actor, the body acting, everything is like, holy crap, he's awesome. Which is good, which is great for what this game is trying to tell you, right? But yeah, it's just really impressive. I was just like, holy shit, Bloober Team pulled something off. It's like cool. But yeah, I'm gonna work through this probably this month. But I just wanted to highlight it because I was a known hater of this game, and I wanted to say that.
I think all of us were in a way.
Yeah. But then when those reviews dropped, I was like, and then people like started digging into it. I was like, okay, I will say the PC port is kind of doo-doo.
I got it on PS5.
But yeah, anyways, highlight. This is where I'm going to highlight like another game that didn't make my list, but it's also an amazing game, and I know everyone should play it. Caves of Cud, obviously.
Caves of Cud.
This game has been a game I've played for like 5 years on and off, so it's like it's not new to me, but it's new to a lot of people, and people were like actually kind of finally digging into it. I know Taylor's been like balls deep in this game.
But I'm currently lost. I'm like fucking upset about it right now because I gotta run. I got the runs going, and I can't get lost right now. It can't happen again.
But yeah, it's just an amazing game. It's one of those like, oh, it's been developed for 17 years and they've been working on it for forever, and like procedural generation and storytelling that's like only someone who's worked at the game for 17 years could make. It's an insane video game. It's awesome. If you like weird games and like things that will challenge you and make you upset, Caves of Cud is it. The writing is so good, it makes me mad. But yeah, definitely play it. But also, what makes me mad is you can just die, and because you can be like, you'll be like 20 hours into a run and be like, oh my god, I'm finally gonna do it, and you just die. But then the game recycles everything in a nice way where it's like everything's fresh. And then you, the player, are like, I know these touch points because I know where the lore is. I know where all these important areas are. So you have more knowledge of how to go, how to approach. And like, then somehow the randomly generated lore and all these things flesh out the already established lore, but the lore that's randomly generated is new to you. So it's like a brand new game, even though it's not. It's crazy. It's awesome. You can do a lot of weird shit in this game, which is cool. Yeah, then early access games, they aren't going to be on my top 6 list because they're early access. They're not done. But there are 4 games on here that are really good that would be on my list, top 6 list, if they were out.
1.0.
Yep. So here's the 4. Path of Exile 2. Everyone knows this. It's awesome. It needs some work.
Yeah, it definitely does.
It's a
They tried to do a lot to like they tried to change well, I mean, like anybody who's like not played them both and then watches a video, they're gonna be like, "What the fuck is the difference?" But if you played both of them, you'll be like, "Wow, they try to change a lot of things, and not all of it works." So there's definitely some itemization issues. There's definitely some balance issues. There is a huge patch that actually just came out today. So it's like live changes.
Yeah, it's it needs some pretty broad strokes to change it, but I trust the team. I like the vision they have. It's way more heavy, slower, methodical, thought-provoking than the first game, I think. It just needs some more love, but it's awesome. Fields of Mysteria, that's the hot anime girl. It's like, this game is amazing. Next year, if it comes out, it'll be in my top 5. Spoiler alert, it's awesome. I've gotten everything in the game so far. I've done every single thing you can. The character work in this game is amazing. The writing is just like so good. If you like farming games, get this. It's better than Stardew. I don't care. Card Shop Simulator. This game is just, oh, dude, holy shit. You just rip open packs and sell cards and level up your shop. And it's cool.
I do not know how my shop survives with how many cards I'm opening, but it does.
Yeah, you just sit there in the corner while your workers are serving customers and you're ripping open packs and you're like, oh shit, I got a holographics worth $300. Let me put this up for sale. Hopefully someone buys it because I gotta pay these chumps for their salary this week. Is it's awesome. There's also these little like humidifiers that you can get that'll suck out the stinky player. It's cool. There's also a mod where you can put Pokemon cards in here and just rip Pokemon cards. And then on the left is a game nobody's heard of. It's called Elin, Elin. It is a Japanese roguelike game.
You don't say.
It's so there's this roguelike game that kind of was like the first of its kind. Came out in like 2006, 2007, called Ilona. And Ilona is kind of the game that inspired games like Caves of Cud and like everything afterwards. Ilona is this like really prestigious, awesome, really hard, really weird Japanese game. Ellen is a sequel 17, 18, 19, 20 years later, whatever. And this is like, it has a lot of base building mechanics, and you have like a plot of land that you're building out. It's like Dragon Quest Builders, so you have like plots of land and like things like that, right? And you can do a lot of shit here, right? You can have listen to this. You can have a farm of women, and you can milk them, breastfeed. You can milk them, breast milk.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's, but I'm just like, so that's just like, that's a thing you can do if you want to. You don't have to. You could have a normal farm if you want to. But here's what I'm trying to get at, right? There's a perk in the game that if you drink milk, you get a big boost in like attack and speed and all these things, right? People when the game first came out were fighting bosses, and because there's dungeons and things you go and raid and get loot and sell it, and you can have a farm, all these cool things. But people were going in to fight bosses, and if the bosses were female, they were sucking the milk from the bosses and getting the buff and destroying the boss. And they patched it out. But I'm just saying, you could do that. It's just like, that's just the amount of interactivity and things you can do in this game. It's weird. It's crazy. It's really fun. But yeah, that's just kind of it's like, oh, this game is sick because it's just so weird. You can have slaves. It's like, there's no moral line in the game, which I kind of dig. It's like, oh, I could have slaves and butcher them for meat and eat them if I want to. Like, that's cool. Anyways, Ellen, the breast milk fiasco was just like, that whole thing when that came out was so funny. It was awesome.
It's the name of my punk band.
Breast milk fiasco.
This is my top 6. This is these games here are, I'm not joking. There's 3 in here that I think are like top 10 favorite games of all time material. They're, oh my God. Number 6, Grun. I don't know how to pronounce this.
There's no umlauts. I'm gonna guess Grun.
So Grun is a horror. It's one of those games where it's like, we're not scary, or are we? Wink, wink. But it's like you're a gardener, and you kind of go to it's like a Swedish town, maybe. I don't know. It's based in a real town. It's by a developer from Sock Pop. If you know who Sock Pop is, they made Stacklands and a bunch of other games. They did a thing for like 2 or 3 years straight where they made a new game every month. They're really cool. Anyways, it's from a solo dev from them. And this game is, you're a gardener trying to like make this house you've been paid to watch over look nice. You have like 3 days or whatever, but the thing is, all your shit's missing, right? So you gotta walk around, do all these puzzles, and there's something really like weird and creepy going on in the town that you unravel. Something really spooky and cool. It's kind of like Outer Wilds in an aspect. It's very fun and very cool. I would recommend playing it, obviously. But it's one of those games where it's like, there's a lot of cool little secrets in there. But if you are a person that hates playing a game and making progress and then dying and restarting, having to redo everything, don't play this. But that's what this game is. It's like, you'll find a thread to follow in the story, and then it's like, oh, I got drowned. Okay. But yeah, it's really awesome. It's really pretty. Like, this screenshot right here is how the game looks. It's a first person gardening game. Check it out. Anyways, Metaphor ReFantasio. This game is a heater. I really fuck with this game because it's like, I hate in games or in stories in general where they're like, you know what? To take down this tyrannical government, we really should just kill all the rich people, right? And they don't do it. They find some other way. Like, this is the peaceful way to do it. We're gonna start our own government and take over the bad government. In this game, the main character is like, you know what? We're gonna do it, and it's gonna be awesome. And it's really like punk in that way, where it's like, you know what? Fuck it. We're gonna kill every person that we hate that is a fucked up person. We're going to kill them. We're going to take them out. And the game is really stern on its politics of like, if you don't agree with me of an equal world where everyone is the same person and we all deserve rights, then you're going to fucking die. And this game, that's what it's about. And it's so cool. And it's a 100-hour anime RPG with some of the craziest twists in a story. It's nuts. And the RPG mechanics are so cool. It's a evolution of the SMT Shin Megami Tensei formula. Yeah. I just like that they don't fuck around. It's like, you know what? We're just gonna kill all these bad dudes. Yeah, definitely check it out. I spent way too much time in this game. All the characters are really awesome and really well written and realized. They all have roots in this world in like really realistic ways, and the way you unravel their past and their intertwinings in this world that is separated by a caste system based off your race, and kind of like, oh, the main character, he's the lowest of the low, he's the lowest race in the cast, and you kind of have to navigate that world. And the game world isn't afraid to be like, you know what, we hate you because you're a different race. It's not afraid to be mean and to kind of punch in its message of like, there are fucked up people in the world and sometimes they need to die, and it's awesome. And then Threshold number 4, crazy awesome game. It's another one of those like cool minimalistic PS1 aesthetic games that took off this year. Not as much as the other ones, but this one is the most interesting one, I think, because it's just so weird. You basically work on this like high peak, and they kind of play it off like it's in any country where you want it to be, but it's definitely like Russia or something. Definitely in like a European area. But you basically have to watch a train come in, and then you have to blow a horn. And since you have less access to air, you have to manage your oxygen intake via a ticket system that you get access to by blowing a horn and getting the train across to get the goods to wherever they're going. So you're managing your oxygen, your health, and you're kind of walking around and unraveling this really fucked up story of kind of worker stuff. Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything. It's awesome. It's like 3 hours. Play it. It's also really funny. I'll have to say that. Yeah, I'm gonna go to the next one. Astrobot, obviously. This game is, I don't know. It's not, I don't know what to say about this game that hasn't been said. But it's like, yeah, it's the best, like,
try.
It's the best AAA game I think I've played in the last 5-6 years, maybe. It really just like, it felt like a shotgun blast to the mouth, dude. I was just like, boom. I was like, holy shit, what the like? Like I was constantly smiling and laughing with joy and like kicking my feet like a little child playing this game.
That dog gif you used to post.
Yeah, that dog,
the lollipop and the propeller hat.
Yeah, that's what this game is.
Yeah.
It's what is so, I think, endlessly inspiring about this game is that like every level feels different, every mechanic is interesting. It does nothing like overstays its welcome. It's fun to explore. I 100%ed this game. That's not something I do. I did everything.
You know what, you're right. Like with the power-ups, there isn't one that's like, oh god, this one again.
Yep. I'm just like, oh hell yeah, I get to punch some stuff. Or oh, I get to turn into a mouse and change the whole level by becoming small. Like that's just crazy. It's just there's so much creativity in one level. Like the creativity in one level of this game is just like off the charts, dude. It's crazy. It's so joyous, and they. At the end of each like world, there's these like icon levels where you get to kind of like play a Astrobot version of an icon. And they're just so good. The Ape Escape one's really great. The Patapon one, not Patapon, the Loco Roco one is awesome. There's a God of War one where they make a joke about the camera loading in that game, where there's like a cave like this, and Astrobot like sidles into the cave, and it's so funny, dude. It made me lose my shit. It's so funny. Yeah, and the humor in this game, there's no dialogue really. I don't remember any talking, but like it's just funny, dude. It's like a hilarious game. You'll see you'll see a monkey like pump in the air and spank in the air. It's just so funny, dude. And it's emotional. I got really sad at one point. Everybody knows the point I'm talking about. And there's also the challenge levels are hard. Like this game is like
the shape levels, the PlayStation controller shape levels.
Yeah, those suck. No, but like, but I beat them and I got all the cool characters, and I was like walking around showing my wife like, oh my god, look. It's Ico from Ico, and oh look, there's Wanderer from Shadow of the Colossus.
From Ico.
And then like you hit them and they do their like iconic thing, you know. It's like, oh my god, they're doing it. Whoa. And it's like I usually hate stuff like that. I usually hate that nostalgia kind of like, oh my god, this is what. But it's like this. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so good.
It's a game that learned all of the lessons from like Mario 64 and like just went with it, as opposed to trying to make a 3D platformer that's not a Mario game, which everyone tries to do.
This feels like a Nintendo game made on a real console. It's weird. It's like it feels like a Nintendo team is just like, you know what, we're gonna make a PlayStation 5 game.
What if we made a 4K 60 FPS?
That's what it feels like. And my wife, every time she would walk in, she'd be like, I don't get it. And I'm just like, you just don't understand. Like you don't know ball. Like you don't understand ball. Like you don't understand video games. This is like the perfect example of a video game is this. Like I can sit down with any kid and be like, if you want to play video games, play this. And it would change their life. They'd be like, oh my God, Astrobot. Yeah. Anyways, number 2.
Yeah.
Mouth washing is like,
oh fuck, I forgot to play mouth washing.
Mouth washing is like I think on a certain level it's like a perfect video game. It's crazy.
It sets out to do a very specific thing and
does only that.
And it nails the landing beautifully.
And yeah, it has a clear start and end and what it wants to accomplish. But the thing that really impressed me is like the way it uses the medium of video games.
Yeah.
Like I always think about like, why is this a game instead of a movie or a TV show? Like why, like what makes this a game? And like it uses things that only video games can do. Like it uses like scenes in a really important way. Like it's able to set tone in
even weird things like a fetch quest makes sense in like
it's able to like set the scene like in a way that only a game could, where it's like this angle or this movement or this placement of a character with a bunch of TV screens around them and screw and water spigots. I'm not going to spoil it because Taylor hasn't played it, but like that is a video game thing. It's like, this is video game and I understand. Like it's the perfect setting up and use of the medium. And it's just awesome. The story is really good. I loved it. I was just, my jaw was just like, oh, like the whole, like there's a couple of times where I'm not really squeamish or like get scared or whatever, but there's a couple of times where I'm just like, I was like, I don't want to click this button. I don't want to. This
that's
is
the
nasty.
thing, right? Like you are helpless. Like you are not a witting accomplice in this video game, but you are helpless. You have to sit back and watch this unfold.
Yeah,
it
was like you can do. Well, you can't. It's not like you have to watch. It's like you have to do it. Like it makes you do it, and you're like, I don't want to. It's like, but you have to because you want to know what happens next. I'm like, yeah, I do. And it's just it's icky. It's nasty. It's just a disgusting game that wants to like rub your head in the dirt and be like,
it
fuck
makes you
and
actively feel like shit. It's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's like it's a Silent Hill 2. That's kind of what it is. and it just, dude, it blew my scalp back. I was like, whoa. This was my game of the year. This was my number. This was until I played another game. But
Yeah.
yeah, this Evangelion reference, thank you. But this right here, I took a screenshot because like I was just like like I was like, this is, oh my god, like it was awesome. I was like, this
whole moment is fucking
right.
I was like, this is like, you know, that Martin Scorsese gif was like cinema, right?
Cinema, yeah.
This is how I felt playing this game, and this scene especially. I was just like, oh my god, this is what video games were made for. Like, that's the experience I had with this game, and also the next game, which is 100 times resist.
1,000 times.
Yeah, whatever. 1,000 times resist. It's like, it's just, this game is so hard to talk about. It's so hard to talk because there's so much in it, right? But after I beat the game, I wrote down some stuff, and then today I wrote down some more stuff after I reflected on the game some more, and I just want to read it because it's like, I was reading it today. I was like, man, like I'm spitting over here. Yeah, so I said, with Game of the Year discussions, we are always finding ourselves year after year having conversations about what makes a video game good. Games should have amazing gameplay. No. Games should have an amazing story. No. Games should have amazing graphics. When all in all, at the end of the day, every video game is different, and every video game has something that makes it what it is. Every game serves a function. It's a thing that it does well, its function. It's an amalgamation of many intricately moving parts that come together to make up what it is. Square to sphere, red to blue. 1,000 times resist is one of the most impressive video games I think I've ever played. Its narrative design and voice acting use the medium it's placed in to its utmost potential. There are differences within video games, and the best ones, in my opinion, are the ones that use the medium and execute something that can only be done within it. It's like watching a movie that is so cinematic, the choreography is crazy, the set design is inspiring, the color grading is top notch, the lighting is heavenly. It goes beyond just a story, and it uses the mechanics the medium is known for. This is what 1,000 times resist does. For a short synopsis, 1,000 times resist is about the world after it was wiped out by a mysterious disease. Only one person was found to be immune, Iris. She is known as the All-Mother to her clones that have been living now for thousands of years in the future. The hook of the game is having you, the watcher, hop into something called a communion, which shows the life of the All-Mother days before the pandemic hit. But here's the kicker. What if the thing that is central to your entire being, the God you worship, the culture you breathe, the reason you're alive today, was a stone cold bitch? Then, kind of unwrapping the game is hard, but that's the gist of it. There's a ton to take in while playing it. There's so many multi-levels like that you can just examine the game from. But the game, the thing that I think is like the big takeaway is not something that I attach to, but the very inherent theme is the angle from like immigrant families coming over to different countries, and kind of how that first generation immigration can affect the children, and how the children take on the baggage of the parents, and how that can influence a child, and how that child acts out, and how that can influence who a person is. And then there's other angles to it of like the involvement of the government in the person's life, and how much they should be involved in a crisis situation, how the church can influence people, how the school system influences culture. I could just go on forever, but like these are like really intentional things written into the story of this game. It's just there's so much depth to it. It's like it's insane the amount you can just take away from this game. And like I might sound like I'm like smoking dick right now, like blowing smoke up people's asses, but like it's true. Like if you play the game and you kind of experience it, it's like, oh, like this is like, it's crazy, because imagine a society built around this one person that is also you. You're that person. How would society, you know, evolve thousands of years? How would religion change? How would culture change? How would your life change? You know, it's a really, like, my first takeaway from the game was a very kind of pessimistic angle, but then over time it's more optimistic, right? The game is more so telling you like the differences that we all have is what makes life worth living. If we were all the same, what could happen, right? But the game, like, it uses set pieces to portray moments in the story and its themes, and it displays it in only a way a video game could, where it's just like it allows you to experience it, but it's like this is very fantastical, but it's also getting the point across. You're hopping between time periods in some points. The first half of the game is like this like really neatly combined rubber band ball. It's like super tight is going. It's like you have a perfect ball, and then you get to the halfway point, and then the game from that point on uses, for lack of a better word, the language that you've learned through the game. It uses the language against you and starts chopping at it and like destroying everything you thought you understood about the world that you just experienced. And it's like, it's so masterfully crafted. It's, I don't know. It's one of those games that I have goosebumps talking about this game, because it's just like, it's so crazy. And it's made by a team that's like hasn't done anything. Like the writers, I was trying to find stuff about
like writers
them.
and artists. It's not really game developers.
No, it's like
they formed a game studio because they couldn't like take their act on the road.
Yeah, it's like, but you can tell, like, it's like a Disco Elysium kind of thing, where it's like those people are kind of similar here, where it's like they were working at other art of being like writers, making tabletop RPGs, writing books, and they've turned their skill into the video game medium, and they understand the strengths and weaknesses of the video games, and they use it to get their story across. But yeah, I wrote the above right after beating the game. Now, fast forward a week later, my brain is still spiraling out of control. Last night, I was laying in bed, kind of going over my spiel for this game for the podcast, and it dawned on me just how desperate and sad the game is too. Every person in this game, besides a handful of others, are one person. Imagine what it would be like if you were trapped for thousands of years with clones of yourself. How deeply intimate you would understand each other and the different aspects of yourself, how they would twist and turn over time according to the environment that you're in. What is so supremely impressive about the game is how it distinguishes characters too. Everyone is so distinct, but they all have similar quirks, you know? It's like, it's masterful. There's just so much to unwrap with the game that it's almost impossible to like accurately like talk about it. It feels like a game that needs like a 2-hour like video about. But everyone's going to have a different connection to it, which I think is interesting too. But yeah, this is just one of those games where I'm just like we've kind of peaked here. Like this is like, I can't see anything kind of ever topping this. Like I've never seen something executed at this high of a level for a story in a video game ever. Like initially when I started playing the game, I was like, this reminds me too much of Nier, because this is a similar story to Nier, where it's like there's a thing that wipes out humans, there's clones, and there's androids, and then the game knows you know that though, and it hard turns. And it's like, it's really cool. And I think the other thing that speaks to the talent of the team is they clearly take inspiration from other things, but it's like they do it in the right way. Because you know how people say like artists steal, and like people kind of like use that, where it's like they did steal, like they did kind of take these concepts, but they make them their own. They're not just the Arrival concept, because there's a lot of Arrival in here. There's a lot of Yoko Taro in here. There's a lot of like Three Body Problem. There's a lot of things like that, but it's like it's not that. It's its own thing that kind of uses the structure of other stuff, and that's what the concept of artist steal is. You know, this. Like we've kind of peaked here. I don't know where games are going after this, but like ever since I've been doing these top lists for Game of the Year here, there hasn't really been a game that I think has hit me as hard or been as impressive as this game. Closest maybe might be Norco. I think Norco is still really good. But this game is just like I don't know. But here's some screenshots. The other thing I think is really cool too is the game doesn't look the best. Like it looks kind of rough, but that it you can tell that they put the right budget into the right things, and I respect that, and I know what they were doing because the writing is just so god dang good.
They got some killer voice work going on.
The voice work is crazy. I was looking into the voice actors, and they're like, "Oh, it's the writers from the game." Okay,
Yeah.
like I was like, okay, cool. What the heck? But they're all like actors from like a thespian kind of background, so it kind of makes sense. But yeah, it's like. It rivals any video game I've ever played. It's crazy. Are you sure you're just sad or stress, anxiety, depression, or deadly disease? And then like this is kind of the for people who aren't familiar, this is kind of the symbolism this is kind of how it represents a lot of things in the game, is these really abstract, like, oh, we're talking about moving to a different country. Here is a bunch of airplanes flying around. But it does it in such a methodical way. And then this, I love this part.
I love this part. Yeah.
Yep. No, but my favorite quote from the game is "fuck Bach and fuck you." I think it's amazing. Amazing execution. Whenever this line dropped, my jaw was like, oh. I don't know, dude. Like, it's gonna be hard for me to like play a story game going forward for a while, because like this is like a
you broke your brain just to re-break it in a different way.
no, this is like a Disco Elysium kind of tier for me. I'm not kind of it is like I played Disco Elysium, and when that happened, I was like, video game, there's just no way like a game could touch this, and there still hasn't been a game that has touched that. But this is also like another of like, oh, like this is another direction a game could go to do the same thing that Disco Elysium did, where it's just like depth that's like an ocean inside of a video game. I don't know. It's got to be Game of the Year. That's just all I'm going to say.
Zach's Game of the Year. Look at that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then this, I love.
Yeah.
So whenever Iris, the All-Mother, is in high school, she likes to
All-Mother, yeah.
Almo. She likes to draw anime girls and stuff, and it's really sad that like she draws these anime girls, and then those become kind of the people in the future. Like everyone looks like these anime girls that she was obsessed with from her drawings. It's really kind of disgusting. But yeah, I don't know. Like I've said a lot about this game, but I haven't said remotely close to what the game even is. Like there's like 2/3 of the story I haven't even said anything about. It goes places. It's a 10-hour like shot to the heart, dude. Play it. I don't know. I know all of us have played it, so I'm happy I don't have to like beg. But yeah. Okay.
Excellent. Great. Awesome. Well, I'm gonna hop in here with Johnny and with Sam. So Johnny gave us his games of the year at the tail end of the holiday party a couple weeks ago, and he had Thank Goodness You're Here, Caves of Cud, Scald Against the Black Priory, 1,000 Times Resists, and Bellatrix! So those are his games. If you missed them, hop back into the
No, don't.
or don't. Zach wasn't there, so he didn't see anything.
No.
But a great list from John. I mean, quite a varied list.
I just started. Thank goodness you're here.
Okay.
It's too British for my taste.
Sam's games of the year. So
I can't wait to see this.
All right, let me go back real quick. Hold on. So, Johnny's game of the year. Sam's games of the year. So Sam prefaced this by telling me that he said he started by listing with the first one, and he goes, actually go from 5 to 1, read it in this order so that it makes them mad.
Oh my God. Here we go.
Yep. He starts with honorable mention Metaphor Refantasio. And what he says about this is he hasn't finished it yet. It's likely it could end up in his top 3, but he doesn't want to list it with only 20 hours in. It's only 20 hours in, guys.
I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
I'm only 1/5 of the way done.
Yeah, right. But his favorite games. All right,
here we go.
Get ready. Number 5, Shapes 2.
Hell yeah.
Very
answer, man.
He goes, his description of me goes, the square hole stacks on top of the red triangle, and my smooth brain can't get enough. Must make shapes and then make them more efficiently. So very good. Next one, and I'm gonna eat while I'm saying this because it's Sam, and Sam deserves some, just the amount of work he made me put into this to actually put his thing together. I'm gonna take a quick little bite here. Christmas crack. Okay, Sam, you're number 4, Bellatrix. He basically said, I think everyone will have this. Yep.
Not me, buddy.
Not you. Number 3, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. He says it's a Zelda time. Glad someone got some new Zelda in my old Zelda. Let me break your game intentionally more. Yep. Number 2, Parking Garage Rally Circuit.
I was hoping this was on there.
Yeah, very Sam game. He says the best Trials game in years. Ska music and Dreamcast aesthetics are beyond compare. Now features 4-player local multiplayer and Steam Workshop maps coming soon. And finally, get ready. Drum roll.
Can't wait.
Sam's number 1 is going to piss you off, but it might not actually. Zenless Zone Zero, our gotcha boy. He says the most hours he's played this year. Glad I'm not there to hear them whining. Game's. Go ahead.
I'm not mad. I'm
just disappointed.
I know. I'm just kind of like sad for him. Yeah. He doesn't have time to play the good games that came out, man.
Yeah, Zenless Zone Zero is what in the industry peaked for him this year.
Yeah, he said the game's atmosphere is immaculate. Styling in
it is good.
Yeah, I mean, he's not.
Zero, I think
the character designs are amazing.
Yeah, he said a new update just finished the first season. Actually, he wrote down finished the 5th season. Good job, Sam. Of the story, and it was solid world building and does an incredible job of making the player interested in what is next. Developers have been listening to feedback and making dramatic changes quickly. So far, it has been generous to free-to-play players, cool characters, cool world, cool music, hopefully cooler things to come. He said he also would have put in Hades too, but it's that game's not gonna be done for a few years. So
I hope the they have the Zenless Zone Zero display at PAX East for him this year that they had at PAX West. He'll
yeah. All right, Dolly's favorite games. That's me. Now I have a bottle of wine here from 2 years ago. The nice, remember those holiday wines from like 2 years ago? Let me pop this sucker. I'm gonna take sips. Sippy sips.
That's I know.
Nope, not me.
This is stuff that people kept giving us, and I'm like, I'm gonna drink it. I'm trying to get rid of this stuff. Dry January, starting off great.
I only drink Pingus. I don't drink nice.
We mentioned it before, but this has been a heck of a year for games, right? It's the stuff that I played this year. Again, thankful for the Steam Deck, thankful for the indie stuff on the Switch. I played everything like portably, and thankful for this guy, surprisingly enough, this dude, because now I can actually play PlayStation games again. Because, as I mentioned before, our PlayStation's upstairs and family time is downstairs. So my gaming habits have changed over the last few years based on what I have access to. So that also impacts how I ingest games and then what I get out of those games. So I'm going to start with my honorable mentions. I have a few. Mouthwashing. I mean, you guys have said the same thing. Swansea. God, this jerk. Hey, Jimmy, you learn to kind of hate almost everybody in this group, and then you pick sides, like you said, really quickly. Fantastic aesthetic. 2-hour length. I mean, it was what kicked off the love of this genre for me, and since then I've been gung ho on this. But just a fantastic game, and it's affordable. And I reviewed it earlier in the year, and I can't stop thinking about it. Still, that psychological horror is just well done. It's a great game. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Forgot this game. Very easy to forget this game with release. Because it kind of came and went, but it's so solid. It's so good. Another game that we had issues with, right? We're like, oh, this game looks like crap, blah, 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 blah. The aesthetics. It
played very bad at PAX when I played it.
But then I played on the Switch, and it's just such a fantastic Vania game with great characters, great action, just fun. Good. It's like $15, like brand new, and you can get like the collection with all the whatever for next to nothing. So yeah, great game. Make more of these. The old Prince of Persia games. Arranger, loved this.
Yeah.
It's a 4-hour game. It has elements of Zelda in there. It has elements of it's a puzzle game. It's just that sliding board, and you can get stuck, but then you can't get stuck because you can actually skip past puzzles if they're, if you kind of get frustrated. But it's just a really fun palate cleansing experience. It's not the deepest story, but what I mean by that is, let me rephrase it. It's not. I don't connect to these characters as much as maybe I would have wanted, and that's just me personally. But everything about this game is super accessible to anybody that plays it, and I think people can just enjoy it. It's great from that aspect. And then Zelda. This was the classic Zelda feel that I wanted, with the mix of the new, thrown in there. The opening scene here when Zelda is looking out in front of the world. I think that was fantastic to me. You could see all the trees that look exactly the same because it is on the Switch. But it beautiful game. It is the right amount of challenge, which is not too much. I don't want too much challenge out of this. I wanted to be able to enjoy it, kind of soak everything in. I want to find everything. To me, a Zelda game is great when it doesn't bar me from trying to find and experience everything. And I know this is a mainline Zelda game, but there are aspects of this that really kind of break the Zelda format, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun, really cute. Okay, Pokemon trading card game pocket. For the same reason you had your trading card games company or the shop simulator. The reason I just love tearing open packs. It's simple. Honestly, I have not been playing like the game. I just like opening packs, and I think there's just fun. There's just fun aspect of it. It is very addicting. I've gotten all the stuff from Mythic Island already, and I've only got a few, and that's all just free, right? It's all the free stuff.
I got the Fist of the North Star Alakazam today.
Oh, nice. And I'm, there's going to be down the line. I mean, you can already imagine them doing some cool. They're going to go through all the Pokemon cards and stuff, but you're going to hopefully see some cool stuff that they do with like collaborations and things like that. We'll see. And Unicorn Overlord, this was in my top 5, and I bumped it out for a reason, for a different game, because it is a refreshing take on classic, like the strategy type stuff and tactics, and it's just such an excellent view of that. And it really, the developers, this is Vanillaware, right? The way they attack genres is so refreshing every time, and they put their own spin on this genre. And like, I love Final Fantasy Tactics, I love Ogre Battle, but this functions and breaks that mold in completely new ways, and just phenomenal characters. Like,
and you can marry them too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it has it's like Fire Emblem, but with a there's actually stuff happening outside of the battles that are worthwhile.
Yep.
All right, favorite games of the year. I'm trying to get through these. I'm gonna take a sip after each one. The animations, I'm sure, are not gonna work, but whatever. So excellence in simple. These are not in any specific order, but I tried to categorize them for what they meant to me and what I think they mean for gaming in general, and I'll try to work through it. Excellence in simplicity, excellence in depth. And you guys brought it up earlier. This game is the beginner's roguelite, and yet at the same time, it is the most addicting game I have played in decades, potentially, and that is Balatro. I think Balatro is a stunning achievement in game. This is a game, and we talked about it when I first reviewed it way back at the beginning of the year, but this is a video game that I can play and my parents can play, because it's that simple to understand. It's a card game, but then the depth gets you, man, and you start putting those hours in, and hours and hours. I own this for PC. I own it on my Mac. I own it on my iPhone. I own it on my Switch, and I'm going to give away this copy that we got from our friends at PlayStack this weekend as well. So it is. I've never had a game hit me and scratch the itch like this has. I mean, at first I thought, yeah, it's like Vampire Survivors does that job really well. This goes beyond it, because Vampire Survivors you kind of get done with. You're like, okay, I got it, cool. Balatro is still a card game at its core. It's still solitaire mixed with poker, and you can play it over and over again until you get something that that works well. We're getting some fantastic comments from all of them.
I think the cool way to put this game is like, it feels like you're building a Magic the Gathering deck the whole time, even though it's poker, right? Like, all the things you said, I agree with, even though it's not on my list. But like, I 100% agree with you. But like, it's like, yeah, it feels like you're playing Magic, but like from the deck building side of it, it's so interesting from that point of view.
It is, and the fact I love is the randomness of the jokers that I get make every run completely unique, and more so than other roguelikes that I've played. Like, I've played roguelite, whatever, where I always circle back to the same type of build. In this, if I start getting pairs, I'm just gonna stick to pairs. If I'm not getting anything, I go to high card and I play with the jokers, and I start going to like, I'm just gonna do all spades on this run. It is that level of depth, and I talk about accessibility a lot. This game is so incredibly accessible. I just don't like that original tutorial is kind of weird to follow along when they were first learning it, but then all you gotta do is put like 5 minutes into this, and you're like, I get it. It's cool. Okay, purity and joy. Joy is something that I cherish so much when it comes to experiences. I live off of joy. Well, I didn't take a sip.
Dally with his Webster defines joy as
Webster defines joy as the love. No, I'm always looking for sparking joy, for smiling and being able to put aside the world and getting an experience that just makes me happy. They're not always the best experiences, but they always leave me feeling good about myself. Ted Lasso, there's music, Christmas music. This game is the Ted Lasso of video games. Astrobot.
I knew it.
I was going to say 1,000 X resist. Damn.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Joy.
Because playing this game, and it does suck that the videos won't play. Sorry. I'll put them over this. Playing the game just leaves me smiling. Like, there are issues with the controls. Like, the 3D, like trying to line something up still doesn't work as well as Mario 64 or Mario 64 and Mario Odyssey still have the weight that I like of a platformer, but Astrobot, what it did with just everything is cute. You hit a character and they do a cute animation spin. The dog, you mentioned the dog, like rescuing the characters. Like I played on the Portal.
You finally got that thing working, which is nice.
Yeah. Well, still only works within the house. I took it with me on vacation. It would not work.
Oh no, it's no.
But people do. Anyways, it really does. I do feel connected to PlayStation when I play Astrobot. Like having the controller and the screen on the controller.
You feel like Tim Dog when you play.
Yeah. This is Sony. Like Little Big Planet tried to be this years ago. But it didn't. It just didn't survive. Every Astrobot experience could be the same thing over and over again, and there's been 3 Astrobot games, and they're all good. They're all fun, and this one is it's just a joy. The visuals aren't perfect. There's a lot of clipping. There's a lot of like really rudimentary design stuff, but that's okay. That's not what Astrobot's trying to be. Astrobot is really just trying to make you smile, and it was so good for that.
There was like a short or something on YouTube where somebody was pointing out just like some of the great design choices of Astrobot. And
Astrobot
one of them,
is design, yes, exactly.
And one of them was when you go into the level where you have to get on the armadillo to roll on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He says everyone's first response is to go in there and just immediately wail on the armadillo and knock it away.
Yeah.
And there's a sign over there, and no matter where you punch it, it beelines for the sign and smacks it back to you because they know your instinct is to go in and just immediately punch the armadillo.
So one thing that you mentioned, Zach, was they learned from and I think JJ, you said it as well. Yeah. This is the evolution out of Mario. This is the sequel to Mario 64 in that the way Nintendo approaches things is we all talk about that level 1-1 in Super Mario Brothers where your instinct is to jump over the Goomba and but you hit the brick, and that's when you find out, the power up comes out of it. That moment is this. The armadillo moment is this. It's like my instinct is to do this, and the developers were smart enough to let us do those things, and those are our learning behaviors. Like they teach us subtly. There is no tutorial. It's just like go play. And I thought that was so good, and just such a wonderful aspect. And that's joy to me.
Yeah, the design language is really awesome. Because like all the worlds are different, but there's similar mechanics across some of them. So it's like, oh, I see this, I know what to do, but then they
Mhm.
add a layer on top of it, and they keep building on top of the mechanics as the game goes through. Like it never gets stale. There's no stale levels. Everything is just like, I don't know. It's just all thrill.
It really is. It's
Yeah.
Yep. All gas, no brakes. So speaking of layers, this next game is the most layered game that I have ever played.
It's like an ogre.
Yes. Onions. No, just kidding. I have this as my breakthrough impact choice because we talked about it before. This is not a game. This is an experience. This is art because artists came and approached it, and they used the tools they had. It's not like this was like, EA or BioWare or Nintendo or Sony or anybody working on this. This is a group of folks who wanted to tell a very important and impactful story, and they did it using. I mean, it's a walking visual novel with a little bit of action, but the action is very particular. Like when you're stringing motions across, like you showed the part with the planes, you're kind of moving across,
So
literally
cool.
grabbing stuff. I'll tell you my experience. When I first started this game up, I was like dumbfounded, and I thought, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. I don't know what's happening. They kind of throw you in this mix, and you're like, I don't know what's going on. Then you get into the aspect of you slowly start to capture memories and going back and forward through memories and start to realize why Iris, who is like that, she was like, that's the all mother, is you're learning her faults as you're going through this. And then you learn, like the very opening section is with Jiao. I think that's how you pronounce it. And that's the other girl you showed that Iris calls her fat. And why do you call her fat? Why do you hate her? Well, you uncover the whole reasoning behind it. And it's not a lot of text, which is really wild to say this. They leave so much to interpretation in this game, in this experience, that as you play it, it's like walking into a buffet. I'm going to use this analogy. Walk into a buffet, and there's so much stuff out there. And how you approach every ingredient is your own thing that you're pulling out, right? So I went in this the first time I played it. I'm like, okay, it's an interesting story. It's about there's viruses, there's aliens, there's clones, and then there's like, oh wait, then there's stuff about a diaspora. There's otherism. There's family. There's female stuff. Female issues. There's religion. And it's the layers just keep going deep and deep and deep and deep. And every time I think about this game, I pull a whole new layer out and a whole new thing affects me. 10 hours worth. And I feel like if anybody gets through 2 hours of this game, they're going to have a completely different thought experience than I will or somebody else will. And you go through the full 10 hours and you're left with something that's deep and emotional and impactful. And it's never been done before in this way. It's really just a completely open to your interpretation story, and you're going to everybody's going to pull something out of this in their own way. And I thought that was an astounding way to tell a story. This is like, I guess in a weird way, it's like open world storytelling. I don't know if you can call it open world narrative, but it's the idea that all the information is there for you to approach it in your way and pull what you want out of it and make those connections you want, and you will get impacted differently. And I thought that was just such a marvelous way to approach it. It's almost like they did that first, and then they said, we have to build a game around this. Let's not build too much of a game, because you don't want action and adventure taking away from the experience they're trying to give us. So I thought that was wonderful. Just an astounding experience, and it really more people need to play it. I think if there's any game that anybody plays this year, this is it. So
speaking of how this game unravels, as you were talking, I just kind of hit another thing in my head. Mm-hmm. But like how you're saying, like how she speaks to Zhao and how we kind of we learn about why she did that, but the way we learn about it is by talking to other characters in the future, and we learn aspects of ourselves from other people, and it's just I don't know how they pulled it off. It's Crazy.
It makes you reflect on your choices of words that you've had in life, because you're seeing yourself, like you're one of the clones of this person that made her own choices, and you are supposed to follow along because this is the All-Mother. Everything the All-Mother says is right, it's good, and it's true. So whatever choices she made were correct. But then you start seeing them. It's like you start seeing your choices from a different perspective, and you're like, oh crap, why did I say that? And where's identity in this? And where it's just
It's so hard to talk about it because like that's only the first.
It's not even 90 minutes of the game.
Yeah, it's the first like 90 minutes of the game. Like there's
There's
so much.
There's so many points in the game where you're like, now
wow.
I see. And you're like, oh. And then you get to the next part and you're like, fuck, I didn't see. I didn't see.
Yeah, it's like I get it now. I understand this teenager. And it's like, no.
You don't.
Because then you have to learn about her parents and their trauma and how their trauma got dumped onto her. And it's like, okay, this is like, and then it just keeps spiraling out of control. And it's a 10-hour like crash and you have to watch it.
When do we get to enter the spoiler zone?
When we would do spoiler cast. I want to get through this because we're already at like almost 2 hours. This next one is why I got into RPGs in the first place. I mean Dragon Quest.
Yeah, I didn't think about it, but
it is.
Haven't played
Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest. The original Dragon Quest was the Dragon Warrior, the first real, like the first classic turn-based RPG I ever played. That was the free cartridge I got from Nintendo Power, and because they had a couple million of them sitting around, so Nintendo gave them away. Thank you, because that did affect the original turn-based RPGs of Dragon Quest, Dragon Quest 1, 2, Final Fantasy. That was open world to me because that was the first time I was able to develop a character the way that I wanted to develop them and discover their limits and my limits in the process. And Dragon Quest 3 was like, I played 1 and 2 and Final Fantasy, and I played Quest, Ultima, Quest for the Avatar. But what Dragon Quest 3 did, the original one, broke my mind in terms of the job system, ideas for recruiting characters, and really pushing the NES to like levels never before seen when it came to telling this big giant world. And then there's like that reveal, 90% of the way in, where you're like, oh my god, I can't believe that this is in this game. And then you're like, now I wonder how they're gonna do the sequels or the prequels to this. So I love it so much. It rekindled everything that I remember from that era. So I play this and I'm just in love with RPGs, like classic turn-based RPGs. And this is, for as much as we talk about, Final Fantasy VI being the inspiration for the HD 2D phenomenon, that may be the inspiration. This is the reason that phenomenon exists. Like, the game is beautiful. They're putting Dragon Quest in this mode and making it beautiful and giving me the pixels and putting the story in there and putting the audio in there and the soundtrack. It's perfect. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. It's going to be another 80 hours for me because I love to just continually grind. Like the whole idea of grinding. Some people are turned off by it. Sure, go ahead. I love it. That's the whole purpose of Dragon Quest games, is that it's the RPG grind. Finally, I think you should leave. Is what I thought this game's name was, but really the game is called Thank Goodness You're Here. This is just the video won't play. The silliest hour-and-a-half experience I've ever had. Maybe if that long. It's a goofy game with incredible art. Every character is charming. There's really only like 20 characters in this. Every moment is just silly and goofy, and it's British humor that has to hit perfectly. But I am a huge fan of British humor. I mean, I watch like
It's
not
a
the
PBS game. I mean, let's
yeah,
be
yeah,
honest.
exactly. Yeah, it's a PBS game. Like I've watched The Office, but I've watched What We Do in the Shadows, which is built off of off the concept of goofy characters thrown in strange situations, and then you add in this, like the strange situations are things that are like the whole purpose of this game is this dude shows up at a town. He's a tiny little guy, the little yellow guy in the middle, shows up at this town, and for no reason, people just want him to do things. Like there is no reason for him to do it, but they're just like, hey, my drain's clogged. Can you help me fix it? Okay. How do you know I'm a plumber? I don't know. I'm just gonna do it. How did I fix your drain? Well, you have to hop into. You have to go up on top of the house and jump into go down my fireplace. It's just the silliest stuff. And there are these little moments that just make me giggle every time, like going down the fireplace. It happens like 3 or 4 or 5 times in this game, and I laugh hysterically louder and louder every time it happens, because there's this poor dude. Every time you go down the fireplace, you leave ash and soot in his living room, and he gets more and more frustrated that you keep coming down to the one point. I don't want to spoil it, but again, the game's an hour and a half. You come down and he's ready for you, but boy, does that take a turn, and it's just so good. I love this. This is the game that came in at the last second because I got it on the Switch eShop sale like 2 weeks ago. I bought it, or no, a week and a half ago I bought it, and I played it, and I couldn't stop giggling. And this is the game that I put on just before the show started, because I'm like, I can't believe I waited to play this. This is Dolly style. This is dad joke humor, British dad joke humor. Just so funny. Go play some games, because they're just, it's wonderful. Games this year were so varied. I loved it. And those are my games of the year, because we're all family.
All right.
Okay, and now we have one last person.
Yeah, I didn't
Taylor,
even,
lightning round. Let's go.
Lightning round.
Yeah, it literally is, because I didn't even write them down. Because I've
Go ahead, Taylor. Just talk, brother.
I've died in Caves of Cud, I think, like 6 times since I joined the show. I'm
gonna guess that's one of your games.
It definitely is one of the games. So I didn't pick it up until the 1.0. And then it's got a tough entry point for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Tougher than I would even for roguelikes is a tough entry point. But there's a few things quite like it. I showed it to a friend of mine. He was like, "Holy shit, is that a mud?" And I was like, "Yeah, kind of. If you only read the text, I guess." But it's a roguelike for somebody who wants a actual roguelike. Although, I mean, what the fuck does that mean anymore? Anyway, I don't know. It's an open world RPG, except give it to me in pseudo ASCII. Really, you'd get a die a lot. It's so tough because I want to be like really powerful in the game, and I don't think I've actually ever left the early game. And it's crazy. Like, I haven't seen any of this shit in this trailer, to be quite honest. Not a goddamn thing. I have no idea what the fuck I'm looking at. But I don't know. It's just there's immutable story points. Zach talked about a little bit, but there are, like, the overworld map is the same every time. Like, the spire is always in the same spot. There's certain towns that are always in the same spots. But then, other than that, everything else is random. So, there's certain quests that will happen every time, but what you necessarily do in those quests could change. The items that appear from the quests could change, stuff like that. And so that's what Zach meant by, like, the lore of the world changes regardless of how many times you play it. Even though the overworld is the same, the history is the same. So, in addition to you learning the game, you also learn every time, your character is smarter by you carrying over not just how to play the game, but also the lore of this world of CUD. Yeah, it's really good. I want to be very strong in Caves of CUD, and I have not been, and it makes me mad. It makes me angry. But speaking of other roguelikes, Balatro was certainly on my list. Sucked up a ton of hours. It's kind of crazy that it came out this year, because it came. Was it February?
Yeah.
So like we're almost at a full year ago that Balatro came out. We would be so lucky to be blessed with another Balatro like game early on in a calendar year. I'm waiting for Zach to tell me what's coming down the pike.
You missed Ballionaire.
Ballionaire. Yeah, I mean,
that's my number 7 of the year.
I've heard good things. What's interesting is that like, especially during my parental leave that I've been on, which sadly ends a week from tomorrow. I started, so Balatro was watching Balatro, and then I was watching people playing Balatro, and I was like, the amount of time that I've now spent watching like Northern Lion just in general, basically 100% as a result of Balatro is pretty crazy. So that's the only reason I know about Ballionaire is because he also was playing Ballionaire like when it came out. But yeah, no, Balatro's just a sick game. You guys already brought up all the main points, which is that it's a gamer's game. You get numbers go up. And then you learn mechanics, and then the numbers go upper than before.
And then sometimes numbers go down, and I don't.
But then sometimes numbers do go downer, and that's when you were not gaming hard enough.
That's on you, not the
game. I mean, that's a you problem for sure.
And sometimes the boss blind nerfs your entire build.
Yes.
I had a friend.
The whole.
I had a friend who just sent me a screenshot because I talked him into playing Balatro this week, and he was on the boss blind, and he had the Joker where all cards are recognized as face cards,
and then all face cards are disabled. Fucking classic.
That's when you gotta sell that Joker ASAP to get rid of it as fast as possible.
It was just a text. It was just like, "Fuck you."
Let's see what else we got here. I also I didn't get far enough to really kind of fully qualify it. Yeah, we'll talk about some of that shit because I got a few of those on here. Kunitsugami, Zach, I know that was on your list too. Kunitsugami is just like
it's good. It's weird.
It's just like a sick showpiece. Like people that wanted to not even necessarily tell like a specific story, but wanted to do a specific thing with a video game, and they, the Capcom was like, yeah, sure, go for it, man, do whatever. And you're like, okay, I get to play that. That's kind of cool. Zach, I'm just going to assume that you already described like what it is and what you do in it. So, I think that it rolls out the systems a little too slowly. Because like I can tell that there's a deeper combat system just based on what it looks like from some of the items that I get, and I'm like, you don't have to. Why are we acting like we've got a harness on a puppy? Like you can dole this shit out a little bit faster than this. So I think it's definitely got some speed issues, which is probably why it got held back a little bit. But like it just oozes all the other good shit. Aesthetics are top. Music is really good.
It's a Pikmin for adults.
I'm a Pikmin for Pikmin. I was gonna say for weebs, but I was like, no, that's kind of Pikmin.
That's
but yeah. I mean, like, I don't have any. I read some things that I guess commanding followers gets really tough in some of the later levels where where levels are a lot bigger. I didn't put a ton of time into it, but I'm like, I didn't even see that shit with the time that I did put into it. So to me, that just means that shit needed to fly out a little bit faster. I think the levels are actually kind of like a little long for especially the early ones. They're like they're straight lines. It's like you don't, they've got this day-night cycle and things like that. I'm like, this should, I don't know, everything I feel like needed to go a little bit faster. But otherwise, like, I don't know, look at this. This shit was awesome. Like, and it looks a lot better when you're actually playing instead of 25 FPS YouTube replay. So
yeah.
But yeah, no, that game ruled. It was on sale, so I was like, let me pick that shit up. I was trying to think of what the fuck I was playing this year, and then I remembered that like one of the reasons why my list is so low is because I played Slay the Spire for like 200 hours this year. And
game of the year for Taylor.
I'm like, wait, is it too late? Is it too late? Can I put them in? No, I felt like I had to mention it. I think I do this. I think I do this every year. I'm like, what game that didn't come out?
It's been game of the year like 4 years running for you at this point.
Yeah, I think,
not even specifically Slay the Spire. I feel like every year I'm like, what game didn't come out this year that I played a shit ton of? Like, I think last year was Logier Grimoire, but other shit that I played that was cool. Fields of Mistras, Zach, I know you mentioned it. But it's good. It's got, I don't know, it's like, I think it's still missing a little something. So I mean, we'll see. So we'll see what happens when that hits comes out of EA. But it's got the goods.
It's got the juice, baby.
The juice.
It does have
the juice is loose.
Did
you guys hear about OJ Simpson? He ran 120 yards a game.
I also am a 1000 X resistor, as aforementioned. It
you said it wrong.
I did.
Yeah, it's 1,000 times resist.
Yeah, whatever. I say X. I say X instead of times.
Clearly, really stuck in your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Man, if this game is like the best tech demo that's ever been turned into a full game that I've ever seen,
right?
It's crazy. It's pretty nutty. When it's like, I swear there is a scene where characters are just straight up T-posed.
Yeah. There's kind of
they do it intentionally. Obviously, like everything's intentional in this game. Like there isn't anything that's not intentional.
There's so many spoilers in this, but you wouldn't know there's spoilers.
Yeah, you know,
oh my god,
it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, I'm waiting to see if I see scenes from a specific part of the game in this trailer.
I like that we're at the time now where we can just do that thing in games where you push a button and you just immediately change the scene. Like that was an impossible thought, like 5 years ago, and now it's just like, oh, Alan Wake 2 did it, and now this game gets just like a team of 5 people can pull that shit off.
Oh, you're talking about like the time shift portion?
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, like, did you guys even? Did we talk about the Hong Kong?
We talked about a bunch of stuff.
We danced around it.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, like, I don't know. I don't feel like that's oversharing too much on it. But like I said, we'll save the rest of the discourse for a spoiler show. But I mean, it's definitely a must play. I don't know. I'm gonna cheap out. I'm not gonna pick a game of the year because I don't know what the fuck I would pick. But like Metaphor Refantasio has got to be up there because speaking of games that got the juice, Metaphor has all the things of the games that you want to like. Not everybody's an RPG fan, and not everybody that's an RPG fan is a fan of Persona-like games, but I think that it does things better than a lot of the Persona games does in a lot of ways that would make people that are like, I like JRPGs but not Persona. They're like, all right, well then hop aboard because we're on a different train now, and it's killer. I fell out of it. I think I was like in a habit where I was playing Metaphor all the time, and then the habit broke. And you ever have that where the game that you have no reason why you're not playing it anymore except that the habit broke, and then you're like, I don't know what to do, and so you just don't go back. That's Metaphor for me right now. And I think how many Steam? Tell me how many hours I have in this game. 90 hours.
So you're about a third of the way through.
So I'm thinking I'm a third of the way through.
WWE 2K24.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I mean, I know that there are some of the Persona stuff with it, or the Shin Megami Tensei stuff in it, as far as the demon summoning, like that ekes back into it. I don't even have the class that can do that shit, man. And I don't know. It's just it works without it, I guess is where I'm coming from. The angles that it takes of trying to tell other stories instead is, I don't know, it just supersedes all of it. I don't know. It makes everything better for it. Also, the character designs are fucking sick. It's really, really nice when they're like, oh, we're no longer constrained to like having to make Japanese high schoolers, and how many options that opened up for the general character design. Really did wonders for him. But yeah, I mean, go ahead.
And like I said, the game is like, hey, there's these bad guys. Let's kill them. And you kill them. And that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like, who doesn't like dismantling the aristocracy?
Love it.
At the end of the day.
Yep.
What else we got? Honorable mention, Factorio Space Age. It's a DLC / expansion that came out, and that did some sick stuff. And they also rewrote a lot of core components to that game, which was sick. Path of Exile 2. How much time did I put in that one? Like
Satisfactory. Oh my god, I forgot that game. That game was so good.
Wait, so did Satisfactory hit 1.0?
Yeah, dude.
I mean, I've been playing Satisfactory for like 6 years, so I forget what sometimes this is like that weird Hades moment where everybody's like, holy shit, you guys hear about Hades? So like, I don't know, I've been playing it for 8 months. Is it like, do people care now? It was weird.
Are we allowed to talk about it like it's a real game now?
Yeah. That was me with Caves of Cud. I'm like,
but that's fair. That's fair.
Oh, okay.
But I did try Grun at Zach's recommendation, and it's neat. It didn't hook me like I wanted. I needed to hit the Outer Wilds level where I think there's something I haven't learned a thing I need to learn in the game for the hooks to have sunk in. So instead, what's happened is that I've died twice. And I'm just like, well, fuck this. Because I didn't find the thing that I needed to find where I was like, oh shit.
Right now, it's just a farming survival thing.
Yeah, it's a farming survival thing. And then like I drowned once is really what it mostly is.
Did you go into the church and blow the horn?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, so that wasn't enough of a hook for me yet. I don't know. We'll see.
Did you fight the ghost in the graveyard with the horn? Yeah. No. Okay.
It's a weird fucking game, man. You play as a gnome. It's so bizarre. And also, but like seriously, you just want to sit there and cut the fucking grass. It's crazy. You get chopping, and you don't want to stop. It's tough.
And then sometimes if you cut the grass in the graveyard, a ghost pops out and it kills you.
Yeah, did you notice that? Like
you just described Legend of Zelda.
There's a specific sound where if you cut the flowers instead of the grass, I was like, I didn't like that sound. It made me feel bad. Wait, when did Animal Well come out? Was that this year?
That was this year, man.
Animal Well is up there. What the fuck? Who out here playing Animal Well? That game is probably that was in the top 5. For sure.
I played it and I was like, okay. So I don't know.
I mean, listen, you like bad games. It's fine.
You and
what else?
Stefan hanging out playing
Yeah,
a bad
Yeah, there you go.
Stefan and I are two sides of the same
It's
coin.
crazy. You really are. And like the craziest games are the ones that like ride along the ridge line of the coin in between both sides. Yeah, I think that's
Nice.
let the rest of the games rest in peace. That I didn't mention because I
World of
Encore.
Warcraft Classic.
yeah, well, yeah. How did you know, man?
So
That's what I've been
there,
playing.
Taylor's list of games of the year.
It's full stream of consciousness. You get nothing else.
You know what we all missed? Rusty's retirement. I forgot that came out earlier this year.
Yeah.
Rusty's retirement. No, that was on my list. It didn't make it. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
what game?
I
It's like
forgot
what I
about
said
that.
at
It
the
probably
beginning,
wouldn't have
like-
made it, but yeah.
Yeah, like Rusty's retirement. Like so I really, really, really liked Star Wars Outlaws, despite everyone thinking it's a bad game. It's not.
Yeah, like
But,
my honorable mentions are Dragon's Dogma 2, Click Holding, Arco, Black Ops 6, Balatro, which I took off, Crow Country, Unicorn Overlord, The Final Shape, Persona 3, Grand Blue Fantasy, and Rusty's retirement. I didn't have any room. Like,
yeah,
it just didn't make it.
I'm like, I'll be here all afternoon if I talk about every game that I liked this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we need to pick the game that we like.
Mouth washing.
Do the right thing.
Yeah. So there's seems like one game was on almost
everybody's list except Sam. I'm
Except-
just saying.
Yeah, but did Sam have any game on his list that was on anybody else's?
Sam did. Sam
He
had
had,
a few on there. Yeah.
Balatro.
He had
but-
Balatro. He had
And him and Dally shared
Zona-
Zelda.
Zenless Zone Zero. Yeah. So Johnny and let's see. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
There's two games that were on mostly everybady's list.
Yes,
Balatro and 1000 Times Resist. Those are
Yep.
the two. Like,
Yep. No, I agree.
Yeah.
Balatro was number one for at least a couple of the folks. I didn't rank mine, but I know JJ, you had it as number one on yours. Johnny had it as number one on his. Sam had it as number 4. I had it in my top 5. Taylor has it in his top 5. 1000 Times Resist. Bunch of us as well. Zach had it as his number 1. Johnny has it as his number 2. JJ, where'd you have it for yours?
it was in my top 10. It was
In
like
your top 10. Okay.
What was it?
your-
It was 8. It was because I
It
did
was
a top
honorable
7.
mention. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's right. Sam, the dummy, didn't have it in his.
Doesn't even know it exists, I'm sure.
Doesn't even know it exists. And Taylor and I both have it in. We're both in that zone of like this game's freaking rules. So I think it's between those two.
It's just
I'd be fine either way. I mean,
why not? If you can
Let's-
always just make it both.
Let's
Good.
do
We are ungovernable.
instead of doing the popular pick, we should do the unpopular pick.
so
Mouthwash.
I'm just saying.
mouthwashing.
I mean, I would go for that too, but
To be honest, I would love mouth. It just feels bad that only 3 of us, or 4 of
Yeah,
us. What, 3
yeah.
of us? Yeah.
three of us for sure. Johnny, I thought Johnny played it. Maybe he didn't.
I kind of regret having it because I put Indiana Jones at 2. Really, mouthwashing's number 2 for me. It's in reality.
Sure. Man, this is tough. Like, either one of those, they're two completely different. One is a game where you have to be.
different.
They
Like,
couldn't be more different. They're both janky as fuck.
but at the end of
But
the day,
purposefully,
they're both just pure like video games. This is only can
Yeah.
exist. Balatro cannot exist in the real world, and 1000 Times Resist cannot fit in anything other than a video game.
it barely fits in a video
Yeah.
game.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
like
Neither of what's interesting about both these games is neither of them could ever have been created at like a major publisher, right?
Yeah.
Because
Oh.
Balatro would be the kind of game that has a deep story added to it.
No,
and
it'd be
better
it'd be
than-
like It'd be like Zynga made.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then 1,000 Times Resist would be an action adventure game like Piano 5 or something. I don't know. It would be something really weird.
Piano 5.
Yeah, I remember that.
Neil
Druckmann's
Druckmann's 1,000 Times Resist.
Yeah. So either of these games,
you have to
both
shimmy through
phenomenal.
a crack in the wall to get to the next memory.
Yep. What are we thinking, Taylor? What do you think?
Oh, brother.
Can't go wrong, except when you do go wrong.
Yeah.
I think the reality is that it really is Balatro.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
it's 1 and 1A is what kind of what it feels like.
Yeah.
Well, so Balatro is a gamier game.
Yeah.
But 1,000 Times Resist is
gonna stick with you forever.
The gamier game.
Yeah.
I am never going to.
Great.
Yeah.
I don't here's the thing. It's I'm never going to play 1,000 Times Resist.
I was just about to say that.
But I will play Balatro tomorrow.
But that doesn't mean.
I know it doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
But you'll be thinking about 1,000 Times Resist 3 years from now.
Playland's back. He says it's not Balatro.
It's not.
Three years from now, we'll be 1,000 Times Resist, and we'll be talking about it still.
Yeah. They'll have classes. The weird thing is they'll have classes about both of these for different reasons.
I was about to say, don't.
Fuck it. Metaphor's
this is another level of 20 questions.
Metaphor's the game of the year.
Echoes the Wizard. No. Oh, man. Oh, we could do a split.
I mean, at the end of the day, for me, Balatro's my number one, no at the end of the day.
I gotta lean.
I would not throw my vote at 1,000 Times Resist, but I also wouldn't be if it got picked, I'd be yeah, fair.
Split it.
Let's split it.
Because at the end of the day, they're two different games to me.
You cannot pit them against each other, and that's why I think and this is so our pick is that people need to play both of these. You have to.
That's true, actually.
You really do, because you can't split it. Wow, that's great discussion. It's a tough one.
The things that you're going to get from each of these games are completely different.
Vastly different. As a child of immigrants, the way this freaking hit me was oh shit!
Well,
and just going through the last 4 years, because they did this as a reflection of the last 4 years. And then the same thing with Balatro. Yeah. Balatro, it hit me not as a child of immigrants, but Balatro hit me as a dad. Who just needs to zone out and just let other shit happen.
It's the Windows Solitaire for my generation. It's my dad going out for a cigarette in the garage and playing on an old compact, some Solitaire just to get away for a few minutes.
Get away from the family, or me going to the bathroom at the office for about 45 minutes playing Balatro. Man, okay, that's it. We have co-winners. And let me get this banner going. SideQuesting's game.
I mean, I just hope at least one person plays 1,000 Times Resist that's watching this, because I don't know, man.
Yeah, and you know what? Give 1,000 Times Resist top heading of the two. That's just
It's the video game equivalent of putting a shotgun in your mouth and pulling the trigger. It's
it's the second time you've used that analogy.
Yeah, because it's
true. It's a thing that I've been saying a lot. I don't know why.
Well, it's I always say it's like a shotgun blast to the sack. So I guess it's not subtle in its approach.
Ladies and gentlemen, there it is.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe both like the game and how it gets into your brain, but also just, I don't know, it really is like a shotgun blast to the roof of your mouth,
I feel it's like the game to play, to me, what Outer Wilds was.
Yeah.
Sure. Yep. Great discussion. Great year of games. And I freaking
Ooh, I will say I talked to Taylor about a thousand times resist. I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna check this one out before the year is over. And Taylor said to me, it kind of looks unfinished. I remember us having
To
that
be fair,
convo.
well,
I mean,
To be fair, he is not really wrong, but
listen, I played it, beat it somehow right before you managed to do it, and like
Yeah.
I still hold true. To
here's what's real
I
interesting
played it
about
back in May when it came out on the Switch.
no, what's real interesting about both
weird.
these games is that we didn't know about them until this year, and both of them till right about when they launched.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of kudos to, like, all the other games had build up, like
yeah.
we knew about
waiting for
Indiana Jones for
for like
6
6 years.
years, and we knew Astrobot for like a year. I mean, that one had been rumored for so long. We knew they were making
Yeah.
another one, and all these are the games we knew about. We knew they were coming. And while
Metaphor as well.
Metaphor, and while
Yeah.
did they live up to the? Yeah, I mean, they may have lived up to their hype. They may have gone past the hype. But both of these came out and were just phenomenal experiences. Like, they didn't need to make any freaking,
Same with mouth
long-term PR,
washing as
mouth
well.
washing.
It's just
Mouth
like
washing.
God,
And the other thing, Dolly, I will say mouth washing and 1000 times resist are two games that you said that I would like.
yeah,
And,
dude,
immediately I was like,
you are
I'm not
rubbing
gonna-
off on me, dude.
immediately I was like, I'm not gonna play those games. But then I actually played them. I was like, oh my god, Dolly knows. He knows me. I can trust him now.
Sometimes until I throw a Zelda in there, and then you can
Oh.
just
It's like I'm a white cisgendered middle class white guy, so like mouth washing has more impact on my psyche than what
we forgot to mention that the game is just like a narrative on like rape culture. That's just kind of what the game is
It's
about.
wild.
So yeah.
Looking forward to it.
but really, Taylor, you need to play it.
I know, I will. I will.
It's
2 hours, man. It's like 2.5 hours. It's feature length. You're good.
Yeah, you're like, what? Why do I hate every one of these characters? But there's a reason. It's so good. It's so good. Anyways, team, awesome year of games. Of course, our awards are the premier awards.
Yeah.
So Jeff, I mean, again, just come to us next year.
Yeah, Jeff.
We'll give you the
Jeff
answers.
just sent us an email before his show to make sure he wasn't stepping on any of our toes.
He did, and I think that's exactly what happened. Happened.
He said, "No, you can let Astrobot win. That's fine. It's not going to be our game of the year."
I'll split these out individually into separate parts, separate video clips, and I'll have those posted. I think they were awesome. I think the discussion was great, and I think that we got an awesome year ahead. Next episode, JJ's got a review.
I got 3 reviews.
You got 3. Good Lord, you got 3 reviews coming up.
I'm skipping.
Do I have? I think I have either 1 or 2 reviews. I better play these games. I just got code like a week ago.
Boom.
Nice. And then
I'm free.
we're gonna have potentially the Switch 2 reveal in the next couple weeks here.
Yeah, it
with
certainly
the
seems like it's time.
Smell-o-vision and the
With Smell-o-vision.
What do you think? Are they going to drop it at CES?
Peach armpits.
No, they're not. Nintendo does not want to be a part of
CES.
the CES
trade
noise.
shows in general.
They don't do trade
True.
shows. So I think that personally, the thing that I've been hearing is it'll probably be the week after, or like probably the
Space
20th
World
week of the
25.
20th, more than likely is what I'm guessing, just because that distances them from CES, and then they can spend, they can do their initial reveal then, and then do a big drop in like March, and then the thing will drop in like actually April or May or something.
Nintendo wants the day to themselves without. They want every headline to be everything they show in the trailer on every website.
It'll be a random Wednesday. You'll be
It will
at
be.
work
It will be.
And you'll be like, oh
100%
shit. Okay.
Yeah. Playland says Janice. It could be very much that day. Yeah,
I don't doubt it, honestly. Like,
yeah. That is a Friday, so maybe they usually don't drop stuff on Fridays. They usually drop them on like Tuesdays or Wednesdays or Thursdays. So
yeah, for us, but for them,
that's true.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah, for Japan, it is a Friday, so it could be Thursday the 16th. I'm guessing it's probably the 20th, 22nd, or 23rd of January, but you can never tell with Nintendo. who knows? But either way, there are game cons. The Steam portable Steam OS stuff is being dropped next week anyways, so that'll be. I got invited to a bunch of that stuff that I'm not going to see. Yes, sorry. With that said, SideQuesting.com, SideQuesting TV on YouTube and Twitch. Hop in the Discord. We love y'all. Definitely do the Patreon. Help us out because that shit is expensive, and the Patreon is awesome. Thank you again to our executive donators to the Patreon, Tom Johnson and Punctified. Thank you to the producers, Stefan Swanlin, Zero the Prototype, Exogenius, and Jeff Grubb. Thank you to everybody else who's a friend of the show. Yeah, Jeff Keeley. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of
Barack
Jeffs.
Obama.
Barack Obama. Yeah.
OJ Simpson.
Yeah.
Musk, OJ
1,000
Simpson,
rushing yards.
Yeah, Luigi Mangione is donating somehow.
Naked Guns own OJ Simpson.
Naked Guns on. You can again click the links, find us. We love you. We'll see you in the next episode of the Side Quest.
I'm going to bed.